Hello and welcome back to the Letterbox Podcast. I'm Lucy, and this is a place where people share real letters about the things that are important to them and shaped their lives. Today's letter comes from the amazing Sophie. She's 30 years old and works in the NHS as a clinical exercise physiologist, helping people through cardiac rehabilitation. She told me that there was a time when she represented Team England as a dancer, balanced 2 jobs, completed 2 degrees, and she said she rarely stood still. But over the past 5 years, chronic illness has completely reshaped every part of her life. Before I read Sophie's letter today, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here and ask you a really quick favour, and that is just to right now press the follow button. And then if you can think of someone who might enjoy the podcast too, I'd really love you to tell them about it. But for now, here it is. Sophie's letter. To the body I once knew. There is a grief that few people speak about. It isn't the grief of losing someone else. It is the grief of losing yourself. Or at least the version of yourself you thought you would always be. I grieve the body I used to have. The body that never needed permission to make plans. The body that could dream without first calculating the consequences. The body that didn't measure every outing, every commitment, every task against an invisible battery that could empty without warning. I miss waking up and wondering what I wanted to do instead of wondering what I would physically be capable of doing. I miss trusting my body because now every day feels like a negotiation. My heart wants one thing, my mind imagines 100 possibilities, my soul still burns with purpose, ambition, compassion, and excitement for life. My brain races with ideas of places to go, people to help, projects to start, memories to make. But my body whispers, not today. Sometimes it doesn't whisper. Sometimes it screams. And there is nothing quite as heartbreaking as living inside a mind that is overflowing with life while living inside a body that simply cannot keep up. People often assume that because you're resting, you're relaxed. They don't see the war happening inside your head, the constant calculations. Can I do this today? If I do this, what will tomorrow cost? Will this trigger a flare? How many days will I lose if I push through? Is it worth the pain? Will people understand if I cancel again? Am I disappointing everyone? Am I becoming someone people eventually get tired of loving? Chronic illness steals so much more than health. It steals certainty. It steals spontaneity. It steals confidence. It steals independence. It steals a version of your future you spent years building in your heart. I had plans, beautiful ones. I imagined a life where I could pour endlessly into the people around me. A life full of adventures, achievements, late nights, early mornings, saying yes without hesitation. I imagined working hard, helping people, making a difference, giving everything I had. No one tells you that sometimes life asks you to mourn a future that never even had a chance to exist. That grief is complicated. How do you let go of something that never happened? How do you stop missing a life you only ever carried inside your imagination? Every diagnosis felt like another chapter ending before it had even begun. Another reminder that my life was changing in ways I never asked for. That my body had rewritten the story without asking my permission. And I have been trying to catch up ever since. Perhaps one of the hardest parts is that my brain never stopped dreaming. My passions never disappeared. If anything, it grew stronger. I care deeply. I love deeply. I want to help people. It feels woven into who I am. There is something so fulfilling about making someone else's day lighter, about listening, supporting, showing up, loving people in the ways I know how. But no one prepares you for the guilt of realizing that the very thing that fills your heart can completely empty your body. Helping others has always felt so natural to me. Choosing myself has never been. I will spend every ounce of energy making sure someone else is okay. I will push through pain, ignore exhaustion, silence my symptoms, pretend I have more to give than I actually do, because somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that my worth was measured by what I could offer. But chronic illness doesn't care about good intentions. Eventually, my body collects every ignored warning. Every moment I pushed too far, every hour I borrowed from tomorrow, until the crash comes. And when it does, I don't just lose a day. Sometimes I lose weeks. Sometimes I lose pieces of myself. Then comes another layer of grief, feeling like a burden. It is one of the loneliest feelings I have ever known. Watching the people I love help me, drive me, carry the things I once carried myself, wait while I recover, cancel plans because I'm unwell, check in when I don't have the energy to answer. I know they do these things out of love, and I'm endlessly grateful. More grateful than words could ever express. But gratitude and guilt can exist together. I hate needing help. I hate wondering whether people secretly wish I were easier to love. I hate apologizing for the things I cannot control. I hate feeling unreliable when all I want to do is be present. I hate the way chronic illness makes me question whether my existence has become inconvenient. And yet, the people who stay remind me that love isn't measured by productivity. That being cared for is not failure, that needing support is not weakness, that my value has never depended on how much I can accomplish in a day. I am still learning to believe them. Acceptance has been one of the hardest lessons. But acceptance doesn't mean I like this life. It doesn't mean I have stopped wishing things were different. It doesn't mean I don't still cry for the healthy body I once had. Acceptance simply means I'm slowly learning to stop fighting reality every single day. To stop punishing myself for living inside the body I have. To stop comparing today's limitations with yesterday's expectations. To understand that slowing down is not giving up. It's surviving. It is adapting. It is loving myself enough to stop expecting impossible things. Some days my biggest achievement is getting out of bed. Some days it is taking a shower. Some days it is making food. Some days it is simply making it through another flare without losing hope. Those victories are invisible to most people, but they are victories all the same. I'm learning that life may never move at the pace I imagined. Maybe my life will always be slower, quieter, smaller from the outside, but perhaps slower doesn't mean less meaningful. Perhaps rest is not wasted time. Perhaps healing isn't measured by productivity. Perhaps there is beauty in surviving days that no one else realizes were battles. I still mourn the person I thought I would become. I probably always will. Some grief never completely leaves. It simply becomes softer around the edges. It learns to sit beside hope instead of replacing it. So today, I want to say something to myself. I am sorry. I am sorry for every time I called you lazy when you were exhausted. For every time I hated you for hurting. For every time I compared you to healthier versions of other people. For every time I ignored your cries because I wanted to keep up. For every time I believed your worth depended on what you could produce. You have carried me through pain that most people will never see. You have survived diagnoses you never asked for. You have endured fear, uncertainty, appointments, medication, flares, disappointments, and endless adaptation. And somehow you are still here. Maybe that deserves more kindness than criticism. Maybe this body is not my enemy. Maybe it's been fighting for me all along. So although I grieve the body I lost, I also want to honour the body that remains. The body that keeps trying. The body that continues despite everything. The body that has taught me compassion in ways perfect health never could. The body that reminds me every single day that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes strength looks like resting without guilt. Sometimes strength looks like asking for help. Sometimes strength looks like crying. Sometimes strength looks like saying no. Sometimes strength looks like surviving another day that nobody else realized was impossibly hard. I don't know what my future will look like anymore. It isn't the future I planned. It isn't the story I would have written. But maybe it can still be beautiful. Not because my illnesses disappeared, not because the grief vanished, but because somewhere between the heartbreak and healing, I am slowly discovering that even a life lived differently can still be a life filled with purpose, love, kindness, and hope. And maybe, just maybe, that is enough for now. Sophie, thank you so much for sharing that with me and the podcast, because reading it is so clear what a completely life-altering few years you have had, and the loss of the future that you expected and still dream of must be incredibly, incredibly hard. So thank you for trusting me with it and for being so honest. You can follow more of Sophie's journey, and her social media is tagged in the show notes. Before I go, I just want to say thank you again so much for being here today. And if you haven't already, I know I say it all the time, but press the follow button. Please do share the letter. You are all doing an amazing job of it already, but share them far and wide. It really does so much to push the podcast and to help it grow. Until next time, try your best to be gentle with yourself and take care.